did find the link, so I have the images now, but I'm really excited to see these watches. So tell me a little about what you've been doing, what you've been up to.
I found this company that called Modify watches, and they make these silicone bands that fit over these interchangeable watch faces, and then they have artists and companies and whatnot design the watch faces.
Okay.
And since I love plastic, everything plastic, I thought that that would be a really good fit with me. And so I talked to them, and they looked at my work and they were like, yeah, we'd love to partner with you. So um, I'm designing 4 watches for them. I have 3 done.
Okay.
And look at those images today. And I have 2 of the actual watches like physically with me.
Nice.
And then
so can I go on this company's website and like see the watches with your face? Yeah. What's the address? I want to go look.
It's modifywatches.com/cerebral aperture.
Okay.
I think.
Modifywatches.com.
Uh-oh. Hold on.
Custom watches. Okay, so these are almost like I'm gonna screen share because I think this is really neat. So these are almost like the plastic like kid watches that became like adult coveted. Like they used to have like the Mickey Mouse one and
Yes.
okay.
Yeah, and if you
oh, there she is! Look! That's my Ava! Oh, I'm so proud of you right now. Oh, I'm buying one of these. That way I can wear you.
Yes.
I love it. Cerebral aperture. Ava Bock discovered liquid plastic as a medium in 2010. By 2014, her work was almost entirely made of plastic, epoxies, and polymers. So when Ava learned of the connection Modify Industries had to the same type of materials that inspired her own work, she knew she had found something truly special. Ava went on to design an exclusive collection of new works specifically for the Modify watch. She's excited to see where wearable, interchangeable art pieces will lead the future and is happy to be partnered with Modify as that future is created. So I can go and actually buy just the watch band and then buy a whole bunch of different pieces and wear whatever I'm in the mood for?
Yes.
That's pretty sweet.
Yeah, so the faces actually pop out of the watch bands, and so you can switch them and change them, the faces, the bands, whatever, like just to suit your mood or match your outfit or what have you.
Okay. I like it. That's awesome. And then how does that work? So do you get like a commission off of everyone that sells, or do they just pay you a flat rate? Or?
I make 20% off of every sale.
Okay.
So, and considering like gallery prices and whatnot for artist stuff, that's actually a pretty decent chunk. So I was like, okay.
This is so fun.
So, but besides that, I've been, I'm still working on my bachelor's, and I tried for BFA. I didn't get in.
You're sold out. Look at you.
Well, some of the colors are sold out. So.
All right, now I'll have to get a secondary color. Well, I feel like white or black would be the most complementing to the most different kinds of arts. But I'm buying one.
Okay.
Yeah, oh, I can't get that one. Gray. I'm buying it right now.
The classic is pretty large. You might want the sport. I don't know how large of a watch face you like.
Listen, size matters, Ava. Okay. I need it big enough that people can be like, "Oh, that's an interesting watch," and I can be like, "Yes, my apprentice Ava Bock made it. She's a very famous watch face artiste." And now okay. Well, I won't put in my shipping thing while I'm on screen share because
Yeah.
I don't need everybody having all my credit card info. But yeah, I'm super excited. All right, so tell me a little about your images and creating, and this is kind of a new direction. I haven't seen this from you before, like before we started talking about watches. So,
yeah, we haven't. I I really had wanted to when I came up with when they said yes to the partnership, I was still trying to work on ideas for the skins for Samsung because I'm still a developer with them. And the kind of photography that I had been doing and the type of images that I had been doing, which was that really minimalistic, high key kind of stuff, didn't really work as a backdrop for a cell phone or a tablet. And when if you put it for watches, it just didn't work either. And so I was like, well, I like doing other stuff. Let's see if there are other things that I can do. And in school, the semester before, I had been working on in the darkroom, making darkroom double exposures and multiple exposure images.
okay.
And I really liked it because I had to photograph all of the images and I was placing the images together. It wasn't the kind of cut and paste imagery that that a lot of people do when they're making digital images. They'll cut one thing out of an image and cut something out of another and put them together, as opposed to with double exposures and multiple exposures, there's not as much cut and paste as it is blending.
Mm-hmm.
And I really liked that. And then when it came to, on watches are really small. The face that I'm working with is like an inch to an inch and a quarter square. It's a very small space. And so I had to make sure that, yes, the space was full, but then at the same time, that the image was just as appealing when it was large and when it was small, and that you could still see everything. And that was a really cool challenge for me. I liked it a lot. I've never had to work so small before. And I think that as a photographer and then trying to use Photoshop, I have this huge computer screen in front of me and I print everything so large. And it really forced me to look at my images differently, not just with the technique, but knowing that they were going to be seen in such a small format. So all of the images, well, 4 of the 5 images are multiple exposures.
Okay.
And the last one is kind of a marketing advertising image of a model wearing a watch so people can see what they look like on.
Right.
But yeah, that's kind of what we're going through today.
I think it's amazing that you're doing this with multiple exposures when everybody else is doing it with Photoshop. It's becoming a lost art. Most people don't even know what that is. But it's incredible that you can get these kind of creations essentially in camera.
Well, it's definitely been difficult. And Some of them are, I mean, obviously, like the one that you're looking at right now, that was done in Photoshop with blending.
Right.
But it's it's taken me a really long time because this is something that I am learning from scratch. And a lot of the double exposure images that you see the tutorials, you'll have a person who's on a white background, and then they'll have a flower or a tree, and they'll they'll just kind of fill in the person's head or part of the person's face and then leave that white background.
Mm-hmm.
And that really bothered me. I mean, in some ways it can work really well, but for what I was trying to do, it just kind of looked like there was just this face in the middle of nothing, which isn't really appealing when you look at it as a watch or as a design on something.
Right.
And so the task for me was not even to just find images that would work in that double exposure on the faces, but that would, so that the whole area was filled in. But then again, remembering that these images were going to be so small that they didn't look cluttered when they were that small as well, and that the detail wasn't lost as much.
Right.
So it's been very challenging for me all the way around. The one that you have up right now is my favorite out of all of them.
I
Although
do
this one did
too.
not get used as a watch,
What
but
what are you using for the texture on her face? Is that actually on her face?
yes, yes, it's flower, my
Uh,
favorite,
and
my
how are
favorite
you getting it?
texture.
Is it just resting there, or did you use some kind of like spray or something to keep it?
No, no, actually, I had her close her eyes, and I have a really big like brush that they use for makeup, and
Okay.
I dip it in the flour, and then I actually tap it over her so it falls, and then it rests on the ridges of her face and whatnot. So you'll have it build up, and that's how you get like all of the wrinkles and texture to really pop out, because it sits on the texture, and then it falls off of everything else.
Okay. I like it. This is beautiful. I like the contradiction of the textures and this sort of like soft petally feel with like the granular kind of feel. These are all blending in really nice. And you're right, you do very well. And I think part of the benefit of the way that you shoot is that you, because you're an artist in many mediums, you understand things like color theory inherently, even if you're not giving it conscious thought. So even though it's really busy and there's a lot of texture and a lot of information going on, because there's at most like three different color areas that we're playing in, like we have the white and we have the blues and the pinks, and then when we move to the next one we have like the warm tones and the pinks and the blues. Like those are your colors. They show up in almost every image. I don't know if you've known that, but or noticed that, but I would definitely be looking at those colors for your branding and marketing materials too, for consistency. um Now, was this one for a watch?
Yes, you can, if you look at the image on her watch, it's the
Oh, okay,
image
I
of
gotcha.
summer breeze.
Okay, so this was more product photography of the watch, not meant to be a watch face.
Yeah.
Gotcha. I love it. Same thing. Warm tones on the face, red tones, and then blue. That's your consistency in your color style. You like to play with that sort of duotoned contrasting colors thing. But I think the fact that you do that and that you keep the colors simple means that even though there's a lot of texture and a lot of visual information, it doesn't become visually overwhelming to look at, even when you shrink it down really small. Okay, so how happy are you with these? Are you like thrilled, like over the moon?
I'm, yes,
Yeah,
very, very much.
good.
It's definitely made me rethink a lot of things, especially with where I've been in school. I've just been really unhappy. Like, I like my work, but I'm not happy with what I'm producing, in the sense that it didn't feel like it was me. Like, I didn't feel like what I was producing, that I was actually producing it for myself. And when I was designing these watches, and when I was working on the cell phone case, so that's not a picture, it's a case. Here's the case, if you see. I don't know if you can see it.
Yeah.
But when I was making these things, which are really small and they're not so high end in price, and they're functional, I really felt like I was designing for me. That I was
Okay.
designed, that I would wear these things, I would use them, I would put them up. And that really made me feel a lot more confident when I submitted the designs to the watch company, and when I took the first photos of the cell phone case, and when I was considering where I was going to go, because I liked the work that I was doing before, and I liked that minimalistic look, but it wasn't functional. And I like the idea of making something functional, and I like designing for myself and finding people and marketing to people who are like me, people that I would sit at the cafe with, and we would buy each other's stuff and be like, hey, where did you get that watch? Where did you find that? And that just be like, I would want to sell to myself.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
So,
yeah. So I like the term functional art. I definitely think that there's something there that you should be exploring in terms of, what your next projects are and how that comes into play. I'm fine with you designing on a smaller scale because it's not, it's not better or worse. Like, I think sometimes people feel like, I have to be high end and I have to design in this way in order to be accomplished. And if I make watches or cell phone cases with my art, then I've sold out. Sell the fuck out. Like, let's hope that they don't watch this one because they yell at me when I curse. But seriously, like, if you're happy and you're feeling content and inspired with the work that you're doing and you're having fun creating it and people want to buy that from you, having those little items are great because people spend money on little items without batting an eye at it. 20, 40, $60 is nothing. People will spend more than that on a couple of drinks after work. For most of the people, to the middle to the upper class that have the ability to spend on anything that isn't essential, that's nothing too, and they buy it. And things like um, being able to do phone cases, which everybody needs to protect their phone because people like me drop them all the time. The ability to have it protected and have it visually represent something and become a conversation piece is awesome. And you have, it's just it's a low cost, high volume kind of thing. So, now we've stepped outside. Like before, if we were looking at doing fine art pieces, whether it's prints or your sculptures or stuff like that, then you're looking for fine art collectors and people that have not only the love of your work, but have the ability to display these kind of big things in and do that, which I'm still all about you creating, but it's a much smaller market for a much larger price. If you're doing things like cell phone cases, your target market just became pretty much everybody over the age of 13. Some
mhm.
even younger. Katie's been bugging me to get a phone because a bunch of her friends in fourth grade have them already. Like, it's
Wow.
such an easy, yeah. I told her when she gets a job. But that's the thing now. And I could see her right now. She's got an app that has like all these like stock images and paintings and digital art and stuff. And she changes her background like every 2 days on her iPad. And which she earned all by herself. I'm pretty proud of that. But I could totally see your images being the kind of stuff that she's making her background right now. So actually, let's do a social experiment. Hey, Katie, come here, babe. What do you think of this image?
It's pretty.
Does it look like some of the ones that you put on your background photos?
Yes. My background right now is the flowers.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right now my
So
background's
we've just appealed from everyone. She'll be 11 in September. So your market has now opened up from 11-year-old girls, like all the way up. And as much as she may look at your other things and appreciate it, like she's not buying sculptures yet, you know?
And
so.
I figure that, I mean, I still want to do that other stuff, but it's the type of thing that I'm such a perfectionist, and I have so much that needs to go into that I can work on that as I make my little pieces, and then there's no rush. There is no, I'm going to starve if I don't pump out this huge sculpture and then sell it. And because I hate being, well, I mean, everybody hates being rushed, but when it comes to my work, there's just, it's, you can only
you're
do
like
it so
me.
fast.
You can't perform because somebody says it's time to perform. Like, you have to create your work when you feel inspired to create your work, which is why I haven't written a word in the last 3 months. You know, like there is some truth to that. Like the artist block, writer's block, need to be inspired thing. That's definitely your kind of personality, but that's part of what makes your work so different and so potent. But you wouldn't create work like that if you were just doing it on command. Like, we need 25 of these by Friday kind of thing, you know, regardless of the budget, really. Like, the budget might motivate you momentarily, but eventually you'd burn out. Now, on the upside, I do think that the way that you shoot is very much fitting into that genre of sort of fantasy art background kind of stuff, where it lends itself to things like the watch faces and the phone cases. And I'd also definitely be looking at stock and digital images, because the more places that this one image can make you money, the better. So unless they're buying licensing rights and exclusivity, I would be looking at as many possible avenues for these kind of images, because they do have a universal appeal kind of thing. And I've even seen images, I'm looking at the first one in your group with the girl with the flowers, and it kind of goes into like the cherry blossom branches like behind. Mm-hmm. I've seen journal covers that look like that at the local bookstores and stuff. Like, there is a ton of potential for all the different ways that that becomes marketable. I would also very much consider doing a line of greeting cards. I could totally see them in the aisle at every CVS and Walgreens and everything else, on, you know, like your inspirational ones and birthday cards and stuff like that, that you could pair with, you know, different inspirational quotes and things like that, and send cards out to people. That's exactly the kind of card that I would pick up and get for my mom for her birthday kind of thing. Okay. She'd appreciate too. So that's what you should be looking at now is, you know, if I'm creating these kind of images, how far can I stretch them, and what are all the potential avenues? Because someone may buy it as a card that honestly is going to look at that watch and go, that is a tacky watch, you know, because they have, you know, a Rolex, or, you know, or they don't wear a watch, they just use their phone. Like, you know, so but it has nothing to do with the imagery. It just has to do with the presentation of it. And then going, no, I won't buy a watch like that. Will you buy greeting cards? Oh, hell yeah. Give me the whole collection by the artist, the limited edition ones that are signed larger. Yeah. And that's at a higher price point. But, you know, the more money that you can make off of a single thing you create, the faster you build wealth, which is always the problem between, you know, like landscape and street and those kind of photographers, and even fine art. They go, oh, it's easier to make money with portrait or event photography. It's easier to make immediate money with that, because if I go and you hire me to take pictures of your family, or you hire me to do boudoir, you're my client. You're the one that's buying the prints. The problem is that, and you were sending them in the group, like, no matter how cute your kid is, chances are if I'm buying like a 24 by 36 matted frame to print, I'm buying it of my kid to hang on the wall, not your kid, no matter how cute he is, you know?
Yeah.
So that's the downside. Like you might get an extra sale because grandma might want one, or you do school pictures and you sell a few more 5x7s for them to pass out, maybe holiday cards, but like that's it. It doesn't extend past like the immediate circle kind of thing. With your kind of work, you have the potential to touch all kinds of different genres that other people aren't thinking of. Like I could totally see this in Target and Walmart as like the stock photo that's in the picture frames. Those people get paid tens of thousands of dollars for licensing that one image that's in the 4x6 frame all the way down the aisle. Like, and that's,
I hadn't
they're not
even
even
thought of that.
Yeah, and they're not even buying, they're not even necessarily buying the art, but the thing is that you need an image in the frame for people to go, oh, I could see my family picture in there, or oh yeah, I could buy that for the art piece that I got that I need matted and framed. So even though they're not technically buying your art, like some people would be like, no, I need them to buy my art because they love the art. I need them to buy my art because I want that 10,000 in my bank account. I'll sell other art for art's sake, but that 10,000 is going to go towards all your epoxy and your plastics and stuff for the other projects you want to do. So yeah. I think even though we kind of deviated from what we were looking at originally for your Sphere 1, that we found the foundation for you to be able to build off of. If you're liking doing this kind of stuff, I think that you could put together a collection like this and do some of these smaller things and build a nice little foundation income that's coming in based on royalties and licensing and like the little oddball assignments that are coming in. I don't know exactly how it works, but yeah, see, like how neat is that?
Watch, see. And then you just switch it to whatever color you decide that you want for the day. Like,
I love it.
This before I knew I could design these, I wanted one. I was like, how cool is that?
Yep.
And that's what I want my customer to say. That's what, And
you could do collections. Like, what if you did one and you did a shoot that was like all 12 signs of the zodiac and they could switch them out for the month of that thing? Like you could sell them as collection pieces where they could subscribe to. Like there's a ton of different interesting things that you could do with a company too, now that you've established a relationship, where they could be on like a subscription service where they buy them. The other thing is that people that are coming to you through you have the ability to decide as well what you want to do, because you could design limited edition versions at a higher price point as well. So people could subscribe and they would get a new watch face every month from you that only your subscribers would be able to get, or new cell phone cases, or, new greeting cards that come in. Like there's all kinds of potential for income there. And for it to be residual income that keeps coming in. But that's a huge part of mine, like the book. I wrote the book in 2013. It came out. I still get checks from the publisher for a couple of grand every 6 months. Like, and I always forget about it until it comes in. And I'm like, ooh, shiny. That's a lot of zeros before the decimal point. Okay. And it's nothing. Like I haven't done any work for it in 3 years. We're in 2016. So when I got the check in like October of 2015, it was like work I did 2 years ago that I haven't had to do a single thing for, that I'm still getting paid for. So enough of these little projects like you're doing now, where they're sending you royalty checks every month or 6 months or whatever, like that starts to add up to a really nice little cushion of income where you don't have to do a thing. You sit and play on the floor with your baby all day and you're making money. Like it's awesome. I'm not gonna lie.
I honestly hadn't thought about the doing the stock thing, and I really should have, because I have a stock account. I only make about $400 a year on stock imagery, but it's of images that I took over a decade now, of my oldest. When my oldest was a little kid, I took photographs of him playing like peekaboo and these little images, and every year I still about $400 in sales on those stock images. And I guess in my mind, I keep thinking of stock of having to be like these pre-planned cookie cutter images of like people on swings or office people with their arms crossed. I didn't think that my work would fit there, but I guess it would.
Yeah.
As stock too, yeah?
Yeah, absolutely. I could totally see this as the background that comes standard on like the new Toshibas, you know, or the new cell phone kind of thing. Like they always have those images. They're getting more artsy with them because people like that kind of stuff. And banner photos. I bet you could sell a ton for digital things, and even like website population, like website companies that design WordPress templates and website designs that are for artists and photographers need stock images to throw in to show them what the galleries look like with the imagery. And the more beautiful the imagery, the more likely the photographer is to be like, oh, this is such a beautiful site, you know. And then the site's plain, it looks like the 38 others, but it's the imagery that's stellar that makes them go, oh yeah, it's got to be this one. And they don't realize like their images aren't going to look that good in that layout, you know. Like, but it is that kind of thing. It's like staging your home, you know, like it does make a big difference. So I see a lot of potential for these things for you in terms of quiet passive income that'll be able to build and support so that you can keep doing the big projects you're doing, which I would love to see you continuing on.
Yes.
So, okay. So going into sphere 2, how are you feeling? What do you want to do now? How's life in general? What's going on with school with you? Because you're always doing like 85 things at once.
I have 3 semesters left. I'm going to try for BFA again. But if I don't get into BFA, I still have to do a student exhibition. So BFA is 20 pieces or more on my own. If the BA student exhibition would be 5 pieces on my own. They would have to be sculpture, and they want me to either show that I'm a proficient caster or I'm a proficient carver. So they want me to do plastic, but also use, if I'm gonna do casting, I have to add wax and metal. And if I'm doing carving, I have to add wax and wood. So
dude, do wax and make candles. Put a wick in there. I want to see your sculptures in as giant candles I can burn. I would buy them all day long for my studio.
Well, casting wax is not the same as candle wax, but I can we'll see what happens there. But I am doing casting, so I'm going to be working with metal, wax, and plastic, and still doing my abstractions of the human body there. My husband is going to college to get his associates, and I should be getting my bachelor's at the same time he's getting his associates, and then we're moving.
Okay.
And he's trying really, really hard to go to New Zealand, but we're looking at other places, which is why we were in Erie. Wherever he goes for his bachelor's, we'll be there. And then when he's done with his bachelor's, we'll see whether or not I want to do graduate school. And if we do graduate school, I'll be moving again. So that's the other reason for trying to switch to going small, because it's easier for me to move all that stuff.
Yeah, I hear you, girlfriend.
So
so what would you like to focus on for the next sphere? Where do you see the need to centralize and focus, and what is it you're trying to accomplish?
I would be lying if I told you that I knew right now. I mean, I know that I want to move forward, but I'm always juggling so many things, and I definitely have a tendency to take on too much, and I'm trying to kind of find a happy balance between everything I need to do and not burning myself out.
Okay. What if you have 3 semesters left? Are you in school right now, or are you in between semesters, or?
I took the summer off. Yeah.
Okay. So you're starting in the fall?
In August, yeah,
mid-August. Okay. So you're starting school in August, and then you're working on, is it considered a thesis, or what is it that you're working towards?
it's called undergraduate research, is what I have to do, and then the BFA exam. So the BFA exam is where I make the 20 pieces, and the exam itself, because it'll be fall, will be right after Thanksgiving. And then undergraduate research will be through fall and into spring. So it's basically, I'll get it approved in August and I'll have to work on that through May. And then I have to like give a symposium or something in May. It's really weird.
Okay, so you have to, when do you have to have the 20 pieces done?
The 20 pieces have to be done by Thanksgiving.
Okay.
Pretty much, yeah.
And do these 20 pieces have to coordinate with each other as a collection, or they can just be 20 individual, totally different pieces, or what's the idea there?
Well, they don't have to completely be together, but it's the type of thing where if a complete stranger walked into the room, they have to all look like they were created by me. Like they have to look like they were created by the same artist, and they have to have some type of cohesion, even though it doesn't have to necessarily be under a theme. I'm working with the abstraction of the human body. So I have, hold on, I have an example right here. Can you see it?
Yeah, okay.
So it's a human hand and it's kind of coming out through stuff. So that's what I'm working on. And then I have to do my last watch design for Modify, which will be fall. I mean, excuse me, will be winter. It'll be the winter watch. And that I have to have done by October 1st. They want that last design.
Okay, so what if we built your level 30 under the assumption that you were gonna complete these 20 pieces together, so that you're doing the same and it's just holding you accountable to reaching it? Because we could break it down, you know, that you're completing one piece every 2 weeks or 4 weeks. We'll look at the time frame between now and November, just to keep you on point. Or we could do it in the way that, like, you know, by the end of May, I definitely want to see like something written down about what your 20 pieces are that you're creating in the mediums and what you need to create it, just to kind of storyboard it, to get your, go ahead.
No, for not 20, not 20. I'm sorry. I kept saying 20 because 20 is the BFA show. The BFA exam, I only need 10.
Okay.
So it's 10 pieces. Sorry.
Well, that works out really well because that would be one per level. But either way, I think I don't necessarily want to be like, you know, level 31 is show me a piece, level 32 is show me the next piece. I think that'll get redundant, especially since you're doing the work anyway. But I think having like a collection that goes, these are the 20 pieces and the mediums they're going to be in, and they're all going to follow along this idea of abstraction of the human body. These are the body pieces and how they're abstracted, and what I'm thinking. These are the issues I expect to run into and the potential downfalls. And I think that would be really interesting to keep. I also think that it would be really neat, because of the kind of work that you do. I don't actually know anybody else that does it. And I pride myself on the ability to keep weird friends that do cool shit. So I think it'd be really neat if you actually time-lapsed or behind the scenes footaged you creating some of these pieces, you know, and letting people see them. I would like to see that from you as a collective, so that it's not just look what I made, but look how I made it, which I think would also be really helpful for your social media and continuing to build your brand and your collective of people. And then I think we could do that and do the pieces that you're building. And then afterwards, what happens to the pieces after you show them?
I'm hoping that I can sell them.
Okay. So that was my thought. So you do the 10 pieces for the exam, and then you have to come up with another 10 for the
No, I do 10 for the exam, and then once I go in, then I have to create a whole new 20 pieces.
Okay.
And that has to be like, they all have to be cohesive. They have to be part of a set theme, and I have to like do storyboard it up and the whole nine. So the
Okay.
10 pieces that I use can't be used again unless I'm denied entrance into the BFA exam. The BFA program, if I don't pass the exam, then the 10 pieces that I've made, I can choose to make 5 more for them to consider, or they'll just pick 5 from the 10 that I've already made to use in the Senior X exhibition instead.
Okay. So I see the potential for 2 different paths, and you can feel free to chime in if you know if something's springing for where you want to be. But we can either coordinate so that you're not spreading yourself too thin, because I think you trying to do something at the Sphere 1 when we test ran, the idea, along with everything else you were doing and doing the whole pregnancy birth thing, because you had to throw that in there too, overachiever. I think it was just too much and you burnt out. And the Arcanum has the most potential for you to stall out without consequence, because you have to feed and bathe and take care of your children, because those brats want to be taken care of every day. And you have to go to school and reach it, or you don't get your grades and you don't get into the program. The Arcanum is a mentorship, so it's here when you're here. At the same time, you're still investing the time and energy and money to be here. So I want to make sure that it's serving you. And that I'm trying really hard to like negate and get rid of what causes the stagnation and stall halfway through the sphere. Because a lot of you guys had that in Sphere 1, but I haven't seen that in Sphere 2. So I think coordinating with what's going on in life is really helpful. So I think storyboarding and kind of game planning for these 10 pieces, which you've probably already been in the process of. So it would just be like the organization of thoughts. Now we're going to give it to you anyway. Just go, yeah, of course I have. I'm so on top of it. Pages and pages right now. Wait till you see how much notes I have. But I think putting that together in the first like level or 2 will help you kind of wrap your mind around what you're doing and get a feel for what you have to do. I definitely will put in finishing some of the pieces and, taking pictures and showing. I really like the idea of you doing behind the scenes, because I think that your art lends itself to people being like, whoa, when they watch how it's created, because there aren't very many that do it. It's very unique to you. And you're very eclectic with all the different areas that you touch on. So I think that would help build your social media following. And then I think we could spend the last level or 2 in November. It's only May now, so if we move you up, I probably won't build your sphere map until at least next week, but I would expect that you would probably get started with it really probably like the beginning of June would be the time frame that you'd be completing your first levels, and you look like you could use a break anyway for a couple of weeks.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I think June's I think you should take it. I think you should take a couple of weeks off, finish up what you're doing, spend time at home, do the family thing, do the you thing, and sort of recenter and come back ready to work, and then I think once we build the idea and you can get some feedback from everybody in the group and some good ideas and thoughts on how to put that together, and then show a couple of pieces. I think the later half of the sphere in November, it would be June, July, August, September. So that would be 5 months. So you'd have to average like 2 levels a month. But I think once you're done, November, you have to have all 10 pieces done anyway. So I think in November, when you're done, maybe the last level or 2 starts to look at avenues for selling the work.
I cannot start making the pieces until I return to school.
Okay.
when I had my meeting with my instructors, because I still have Sculpture 4, which is the capstone class.
Okay.
They made my creation of pieces for the BFA exam what I was going to be doing for my capstone class. So I can't actually make the pieces ahead of time or they won't count.
Okay. And you go back to school in August?
Yeah, I go in mid-August, I go back.
Okay. So what would you like to do until August then? Okay, what if we switch it? What if the first couple of months, do you have any idea what you're doing? Have you been thinking about these 10 pieces and what kind of mediums you're using? And
I have been thinking about what I'm going to be doing with them just because I have to mix metal. And so I've been looking at low temperature metals so
okay.
that they'll melt and work within the plastic. But then I was also thinking about if I made smaller epoxy things, like if I made paperweights or if I made mobiles or if I made whatever, that I could take those low temperature metals and use them in there too, as like the wrappings of stones and things like that. And then at the same time, I also thought about just taking some time to shoot some more or paint some more or just create without it having a purpose, like without there being an end reason to it, to kind of recapture a little bit of what I lost.
Okay.
But I don't know. The
Okay,
thing
well,
that I need the most is sleep.
how about personal projects? Is there something that's been in the back of your head, like, oh, I'd love to do this when I get to it?
Yes, making a light box for my son's room.
A light box. Okay.
Yeah, because we don't want to do the little night light thing on the ground, because the way his furniture is, it casts weird shadows and he gets scared, my middle child.
Uh-huh.
We have glow-in-the-dark stars painted on his ceiling that kind of fade over time. So we were thinking of just making a light box that would go over his dresser, so it was up. And that's a project that I've been thinking about.
Okay, let's make that level 21.
Okay.
I like it. We can do it. Well, and here's the other thing, because I don't want to tax you and I don't have to push you. You always have 20 things going on yourself, and you're like, some people bite off more than they chew, and you like try to unhinge your jaw anaconda style and like just, like, I'll do added bachelor things while I have a newborn, and I'll take the Arcanum, and yes, I'll take, the watch thing. Like, you just always have like 20 things going on. You're like, and no matter how busy you are, you're like, let me tell you about the new thing I'm doing. Like, yes, sir, can I have some more? Like, so you're a glutton for punishment. So I'm also fine with breaking your sphere 2 down into less intense things so that you can accomplish them faster. Like, it's very easy to go, level 21 is going to be, a rough sketch and design and a list of materials and how you're going to build this. And level 22 is going to be the building and completion, and I want a picture of your son's room when it's lit up. Like, so we can break them down into smaller things rather than going level 21 by itself is create and mastermind and then build this box. So would you like to actually break it down into smaller things and maybe have an easier one that's more focused on just creating and doing fun stuff?
Yeah. Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Besides the light box, what else do you want to do? Is there new materials that you want to play with? Because I would love to see, I'd love to be super selfish in your sphere 2 and have you just play with materials and just document it and see some of the ways that you work. Because I'm so interested in the way that you create and the materials you use and how it all works. I would love to see you just create for creation's sake, but have behind the scenes images or video of you creating, just to see the process of how you create these incredible things that nobody else makes.
Well, no, I that would definitely be interesting to me. I mean, like I said, I'm kind of having to start over by going small. And
Okay.
so I have to test and I have to try new things and I have to, and even with BFA, they told me to strip color out and work on it separately. And so these smaller things would be easier for me to test colors and try and figure out how color works within liquid plastic and try and figure out how I want it to look so that it's not just there.
Okay, so how about a series of challenges where you can write me a post once I put you in Sphere 2, whenever you get to it but until August when you go back and actually do the work for these 10 pieces, what if you wrote me a post that had, these are the kind of materials that I'm used to working with, these are the new materials I'm trying, or materials that I haven't worked with in small form. You know, these are the kind of experiments that I'll be doing. That way you can play with it and have a good handle on it so that when August does come and you can start working with it, you know what you're working with. Because I know even with clay, like just working with polymer clay as opposed to earth-based clays is totally different in the way that I handle all of the sculpture and everything else. So maybe just playing with some of the materials and the color and stuff like that would be enough to do. And I don't care what you create whatever moves you. In fact, I really love the idea of you just getting the materials out and going without a forethought. Like just sit down and play again and see what you come up with on the fly. Yeah?
Yeah.
Okay, good. All right, then that's what I think I'd like to see from you. So in Sphere 2, they do the wishing well exercise that we did in 1.
Okay.
So it'd be interesting to have you complete that again, but if you look over what you did at the foundation levels and find that it's still pretty much the same, I have the feeling it won't be for you because you guys are making major life changes every time I look at you.
Do I still have access to that though? Because we moved.
I might have access to it. I could probably repost it, but I actually don't think it'd be a bad idea for you to redo it again because what you were doing and where you were going in life has completely changed. Now you're talking about moving and everything else. So, you know, and it's always different with family because you have to take everybody else into consideration too. That's, you know, your decisions are dependent on them and their life is dependent on your choices. So it'd actually be fun to have you do it again, and then I'll post your original under it and we'll see how much you stayed in line.
Okay.
Yeah.
Where would I find the questions for it?
So when we're done, you're going to just go request to level up so that we can get you to level 20, and then I'll send you the invite and I'll put you into the community for Sphere 2. And on the side, one of the community, the category names is the Wishing Well.
Oh, okay,
You'll
cool.
see everybody else's posts. So go in and get acquainted, say hello, and let everybody know that my favorite apprentice is moving up. And
Finally.
and we'll get you settled up there. But yeah, I would absolutely like I'd say take the next couple of days or the next week and just think like, if I'm creating just for me, what is it that I want to do? What materials do I want to play with? And you know, and just write me a note and be like, this is what I really want to do just for me. No money, no school assignments, nothing, like, because I would like to build you a sphere where you create because you're a creator and that's it. And I would love to see what you come up with from that without anybody else putting any constraints on you.
Awesome.
Awesome. Good. I'm excited.
I'm excited too.
Okay, so go into the Arcanum database, request level ups until we get you. You and I are a couple behind, like the work's done, but go request it so that you're at the right level, so I can put you in level 20.
On the Google community?
No,
On
in the Arcanum database, so that once you're in Sphere 2, once you graduate level 20 in the Arcanum database, then I can add you to my Sphere 2 community in the Arcanum.
Okay.
So yeah, there's no Hall of Records or anything in Sphere 2. We just do it all on the Arcanum site. So Sphere 2, the Google community is really just for community's sake and connection. But they're definitely your people. You'll fit in really well there.
Okay.
So, all right, yay! Was there anything else that you wanted to chat about? Questions, comments, concerns? Off camera? On
I
camera?
no, I don't. I honestly probably after about 4 hours of sleep, but not at the moment.
Okay, well, if you think of anything, drop me a line. And as soon as you request up, then I'll send you an invite for Spirit Tea, which I'm super excited you're staying with me for.
Awesome. Yes,
Okay.
thank you.
All right, well, I gotta go because I gotta go buy a watch. And I'll talk to you soon.
Yes.
All right, bye, Ava.